Good evening, the Concord Township Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for November 10th, 2020 is now in session. I would like to first introduce my board. To my far left is Skip Sweeney and Brandon Dines. I'm Ivan Valente. To my right is Chris Joe and Blair Hamilton. And our far right is Heather Freeman, our zoning inspector. This evening, under the voice of council, we ask that anyone speaking tonight must be sworn in. If you plan on speaking, please stand and raise your hand. You're sure you're not going to be speaking tonight? Okay. If there's anybody on the phone, can I swear them in at the same time? Sure. We'll try it. So if you're on the phone, I'm going to swear you in right now, and then I'll confirm if you speak at any point tonight. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help me God. If so, say I do. I do. Thank you. Please be seated. When presenting your case this evening, come to the microphone, state your name and address, and also confirm that you've been sworn in. Okay? If anybody that's on the line, if you could mute your phone for now, and we will give you a chance to speak as we go through each case. Heather, were the legal notices published in a timely manner?
Yes.
Great. Tonight we have one full business item and 3 appeals. A 3-vote majority is required to either approve or deny appeal. If the request is denied, you have the right to file an appeal. Okay, so old business, just acknowledge we have an appeal number 2018-41, Randy Viviani on 7757 Concord LLC. Has requested that we postpone or table that discussion. That continues to remain as old business. Then we have 3 items for new business. The first of which is variance number 2020-68. Alexander J. Gervis is requesting a variance from section 15.03A6 to allow for the construction of a second accessory building on a lot less than 2 acres in lieu of the maximum 1 permitted for lots less than 2 acres for the property located at 10391 Pinecrest Road, current parcel number 08-8-A-2-4-A-00-0022-0. Please come up to the microphone.
What do you have to say?
State your name, address.
Alexander J. Gervis, and I've been sworn in.
I am Erica L. Gervis, and I've also been sworn in.
And just the address for the record.
10391 Pinecrest Road.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm presenting our case for us. To whom it may concern. Evidently, we mistakenly misunderstood permit rules for our new shed, and our zoning permit request number 90920-1393 was recently denied. The reason cited for the denial was that we are in violation of section 15.03A6. Our property at 10391 Pinecrest Road, parcel number 08A-024-A00020, is 1.65 acres and is under the 2-acre mark for the allowance of 2 accessory buildings. We are requesting this variance on the grounds that we really do need the use of 2 accessory buildings on our property at the corner of Pinecrest Road and Viewmount Drive. We've decided that we needed to designate separate spaces for very definite purposes after we'd been experiencing some severe adverse effects from the allergens on the property. As of late, breathing difficulties and various skin irritations and infections have caused great distress. As a result, we decided that the smaller 12 by 14 shed would house the equipment and tools necessary for our outdoor property maintenance, so as to keep any allergens as far from the living and recreational working quarters as possible. The large, newer shed, being 14 by 32, where a lot more time would be spent, would be designated entirely for recreational vehicles and their maintenance. For this project, we decided to clear brush to reclaim an area of our property that hasn't been mowed or maintained since we moved in. Though the aerial view of our property was also included. Though the area of view of our property shows dead trees, we had to fell a couple of years ago. That was from 2016. We did not cut any of our trees in clearing of our property for this new shed. So, just so everyone understands, we took great pains to look for a shed that would be aesthetically pleasing to all passers-by, to choose a location on the property that was functionally practical to drive into, and one that would not interfere with the septic or drainage layouts on our oddly shaped lot. This arrangement is much better for our overall health and well-being. We humbly ask for your reconsideration in the matter, and allow us to keep our property arrangement by looking favorably on this variance and making an exception in our case. Thank you.
I'll start with some questions. So what is kept exactly in the new structure as well?
In the new structure, I have I'm restoring a 1975 CB750. So I have it all organized in there in little bags and stuff. And then I have 2 other motorcycles that I keep in there with that. And that's it.
Okay.
Did you know you needed a permit to construct that?
I didn't know at the time. When I thought that if it was on skids, I didn't need it. Was in a permanent structure, so I realized that I needed a permit for it at the time. I actually ordered the building and had like 6 weeks when I was going to get it. I bought it from Sturdy Built down in Warsaw, Ohio, and they delivered it. All I did was prepare the site. I brought in, there was a swale in the yard, and that's why part of how we made the decision. It wasn't used anymore after we put in the drainage. So I filled that in with topsoil on the one side and then gravelled a pad for it and leveled it out, and they brought it in.
Did you build it?
No, I did not build it. Sturdy built it, and they're out of Warsaw, Ohio. And so it was built by them. It's knotty pine siding with plywood floor and a steel roof.
And they didn't ask you if you had gotten a permit?
No, it was an Amish company. So when I ordered it, and then they were going to transport it, and I asked them if I needed it, and they said that they didn't think so in the township because it was on skids. And I said, okay, and I should have checked into it further.
Did you, in addition to this newer building, did you also install the other building?
The other building, there was one there before that that was in disrepair.
Okay.
So I put one right in its place. There was 2 little concrete pads that were there. In the other building, the house was foreclosed for like 6 years. So there was a big hole in my yard, kind of to where the new building is. It was a 20 by 35 foot hole that I filled in with like 110 yards of dirt. So it was very unclear when I moved in, like what had been done. I know that and the other thing is I knew that in, I think 2005, they pulled a permit for a garage. So I didn't know exactly what they meant by that because all we have is an attached garage. So, I did look at that, but, and so yes, I put a 12 by 14 foot shed where there was a 12 by 14 foot, but the other one, it was decayed.
And you also did not seek a permit for that installation?
That is correct. And basically it was on the same premise that I truly thought that if it was a non-permanent structure, like didn't have a foundation, that I didn't have to pull a permit. And I talked to Heather and I realized that now. And I regret that I didn't.
You talked to Heather when you rebuilt the first structure?
No, I didn't talk to no one when I rebuilt I didn't rebuild it. I actually bought a used shed, that one, and put it over there. I brought that home myself, and I bought it in Lorain, Ohio, and transported it myself and put it there. And then I was just saying when I talked to Heather, that was about the build when she stopped by when the other building, a day after it arrived.
The smaller structure, the 12 by 14,
Yes.
is that full jam packed filled with stuff?
Yeah,
or-
I have a inside of there. I have my gas edger. I'm highly allergic to poison ivy and poison oak. I get it all the time, even from the bagger that blows it out. And we had a lot of it on our property because it was overgrown. But I basically put on full cover. If I don't, I end up getting it. I got it really bad on my legs this year. So that's how I was like, and what else is in there is my tractor, and I have a cyclone rake for picking up leaves. So it's like 4 foot wide and like 13 foot long. There's like a foot between the door and that. Then I just have garden tools hanging on the side walls, and leaf blowers, that type. It's all yard maintenance stuff that's in the 12 by 14, and I just built new doors for it because the doors were in disrepair. So
What was the time span between the installation of the two buildings?
4 years. And I did talk to my neighbor Cindy that's behind me when the other shed, and then also talked to her about the one that's there, the bigger one. We also have a drive off of Viewmont. That's another reason why we picked out the placement. We have our utility gas and water come in on the front of the house, and our septic system is right beyond our driveway and goes 120 feet behind the house. So I just was trying, and it was, like I said, a spot that wasn't usable, and that whoever had the property before dug a hole and then built a swale so it drained out to a little creek that runs along the side of the property. And what I decided was to fill in that swale, and I put in about 30 tons or 30 yards of dirt and about 60 tons of recycled concrete to level out that area to make it, grade. That's actually when Heather showed up as well. I was just finishing off grading, and she said there was no issue with grading, but so.
Brennan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I appreciate you have two nice buildings here, and I guess I don't quite understand the causal link between your allergies and the buildings, but I understand what you're saying, I guess, to some degree. The difficulty I have, and the difficulty we have as a board, is that you've got a 1.65 acre lot. You're allowed one building. There's two there now. I don't know what you've considered as far as this new company, to the extent, and we're not here to tell you what to do or how to do it. We're here to make a decision based upon the facts presented to us.
Okay.
But you just got this building, correct? September, you said?
I just got it, yes.
Yeah. I'm guessing the company isn't one that's inclined to take that building back and sell you a larger building that accommodates everything you need.
No, I actually even submitted plans that I could put the building and then take the other one and put it onto that one, but I don't think it would look good. But I ordered it specifically, and I paid for it. It was $7,100.
Is there a way to wall off a section of it so you can put the lawn equipment in part of it and keep the lawn equipment separate from the rest of it?
I don't see how. There's a man door in the front, and there's one side door. So, and the other thing is that if I'm around, and I have no hair anywhere, I have an autoimmune disease, and that's part of the reason I'm so allergic to like poison ivy, poison oak, anything like that. I know you say it doesn't, but I just literally, if I'm around, like even my lawn equipment, I clean it, I do all that, and I put it away, but even that, just that fine dust that comes from there,
Yeah, and I don't mean to cut you off. I'm not disputing that you have those issues. I guess I just don't understand the causal link to how that requires two buildings. Maybe I'm missing something. I mean, you don't have a physician who said, well, all right, Mr. You've got to have a couple different buildings here because of your autoimmune or your issues.
No,
with
I mean, let's put it this way. If I would have known now what I knew then, I would have just ordered a bigger building, because between the two, the square footage is far less than the allowable square footage of one building. I would have just sold my shed that I have on there for $800, and I would have spent another $1,000 or $1,100 and just made it bigger.
Skip, you have any questions? Anything else for anyone up here? You good?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. You can be
Okay,
seated.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here this evening that would like to speak for this appeal? Or is there anyone else here that would like to speak against this appeal? Okay, then I'm gonna ask that if there's anybody on the line, that if they would like to, first, if there's anyone that would like to speak for the variance that's 2020-68. Is there anyone that would like to speak against this appeal on the phone? Heather, is anyone? Yeah, maybe ask in the chat if there's anybody that would like to speak.
So while we're waiting, and again, I'm not being quarrelsome with you. I just want to understand. Is the suggestion that because of the allergens and the allergic reactions you have, you go inside these buildings to do things, and that's where you perform work, so you're not outside? Is that?
No, I'm just saying I store my lawn equipment in a separate area than where
you're working?
Right.
Okay, thanks. I'm a little dense. I was trying to
that's
understand that.
I
Okay.
just, and like I said, if I would have known any different, I could have got a bigger building and put another door on the other end, made it longer if I would have known.
If I may, he spends a lot of time on his hobby, and when he's in that environment for a long period of time, you know, it could have adverse effects, you know, just breathing, you know, the allergen. So,
Well, and I also part of I have no body hair, so I have no nose hair either. So anything that's like, I don't like cut wood in or do anything that creates dust or anything like that. It's like a human vacuum.
You have a 2-car attached garage, your home?
Yes, and my wife parks in the garage, and we keep our grill in the garage, and I keep one other motorcycle in the garage, and just household, like that's her potting area.
Thank you.
No one? There's no one that wants to speak? Okay. Any other questions for them before we close it to the public? Okay. Okay, there's no further questions. A public hearing for variance number 2020-68 is now closed. I'll entertain a motion to approve variance 2020-68.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Open for discussion. Anybody like to start? Anyone? Okay.
I went to the property. I I don't think that it is an eyesore in any way. I know that we had this letter from the Eagle Ridge Homeowners Association, and they're making quite a big deal out of it, for lack of better terms. I don't see what the issue is, except that there are two buildings. It seems like there is a situation, a physiological situation. I don't like when people build things and don't get permits. It just boggles my mind that people don't understand that they have to have permits to construct things and get renovations done. But I think it's a lovely building.
Yeah, and I guess to be clear, I mean, they don't care for the appearance or whatever, but we're not even here to really judge the appearance of the building.
No, I know, but I mean, that's, I think, one of the biggest issues that the homeowners association is having.
Yes. Skip.
Yeah, I don't think the homeowner's objections has any merit in this variance application. And I tried to look at the difficulty here that begs for a variance. And ironically, the only difficulty I could see that is that if the variance is not granted, they've got a problem on their hands as to what to do with this building. That seems to be the only difficulty, and that difficulty was, no offense, caused by their own actions. So I guess I'm having a problem finding the practical difficulty that meets the Duncan standards that would convince me to grant the variance. It's tough because we've seen this for years, where people come in, and again, this is no offense. You testified that you didn't have the knowledge of the need for a permit. That's fine. We understand that. But it seems that we have a rash of people coming in asking for forgiveness rather than permission, and it makes our job very difficult. So that's what I think.
Brandon or Skip, if you want to go, we can. If you want to have anything you want to add, we can always go through the Duncan factors together as a group too, afterwards. Or we can do it right now.
Well, I would only say I think we all know those. We probably all know them like the back of our hand after all these years. We're a community and we're a board that in the past and over the years has tried to work with the residents as best we can to accommodate them in certain circumstances and in extreme circumstances to the extent that they present themselves to us. I think we try as a board to assist and help the residents and try to find reasons by which we can grant some of these appeals to assist them. This is obviously a bit of an undertaking and an expense. You've got some, as Ms. Gerald mentioned, some physiological issues that seem to indicate, present to you a particular problem, if you will, or a particular situation by which you need to separate some of these things. Almost tongue-in-cheek, I'd say I'd hire a landscaper if I were you and stay out of the woods. But maybe not everybody can afford to do that. I don't know. But maybe you enjoy cutting stuff. I don't know. Again, that's not really for me to say. They're two nice buildings. This board continually, Mr. Sweeney and Ms. Gerald both have indicated that we struggle when people do this without permission first and then ask for redress as a result. But I'm inclined, based upon the factors, based upon the condition of the property and the buildings, aside from some of the Duncan factors, and I think as a board we have the ability to do that, I'm inclined to vote yes on this because I think the buildings do look nice. I think he's presented some circumstances here by which as a board we have the ability to take that into consideration and maybe render a decision otherwise aside from the Duncan factors. But I'm rambling on, that's just my 2 cents at this point. I'm interested to hear from the rest of you.
Thanks.
I guess I just want to say that I agree with Mr. Sweeney that, and I'll add in this case, that the applicants didn't do this once, but they did it twice. In putting in a structure without seeking a permit. And had they done this in the first place, they may have then known what their limitations were going forward. But to do this over and over again, and then come and ask for redress on the variance for the building, I think has me inclined to vote no.
Yeah, unfortunately, the first time, it sounds like we didn't catch them the first time either. Maybe then if we would have caught them the first time, they would have known even then. So we had two chances. Can you mute that? Thank you. Okay. Anyone else have anything? All right.
If we vote no on this, then their recourse is to take down one of the buildings.
One of the buildings, if we vote no, yes. One of the buildings have to come down. Doesn't matter, it's up to them which one, but yes. If we vote no, one of them would have to come down. So, anyone else have anything? Skip? No?
Well, the only thing I would say, to the extent you could do it quickly or now, I don't know. I mean, you're, 0.35 acres away from being 2 acres and not having an issue. I was looking at some of the contiguous properties. I don't know to the extent you can acquire 0.35 acres if that's going to happen in due time, but looks like there might be one parcel there. But you're pretty close. You're almost a quarter of an acre away from not having this issue. But that again, that doesn't change anything here. It is what it is for our purposes.
Should we acknowledge it? We're close. Do you want to go over there?
Sir, you're gonna have to wait until it's public comment.
Oh. Okay. Okay, then it's on the approval of a variance appeal number 2020-68. A yes vote is for the approval of the variance and no vote denies the variance. Heather, please call the vote.
Mr. Hamilton?
No.
Mr. Sweeney?
No.
Mr. Dines?
Yes.
Farrell?
Yes.
Mr. Valente?
Yes. Your appeal has been approved. Okay, next on the docket is variance number 2020-69. James W. Torrey II is, is requesting a variance from section 15.04A2D to allow for the construction of accessory building on the corner lot to be set back 12 feet from the road right away in lieu of the minimum 50 feet required for the property located at 9849 Weathersfield Drive, current parcel number 10-A-026-N-00-001-0.
James William Torrey. I've taken the oath and my address is 9849 Weathersfield Drive. I'm just going to read the letter of intent. Oh.
Would you feel comfortable?
Sure.
Is that okay?
That's fine. I'm not used to that at work, but this letter of intent is in support of my request for variance in the side yard setback requirement for an existing lot. The intention is to build a new 20 by 20 garage. The proposed new garage is 20 feet wide as such based on the current code in section 15-04.2D. The setback side yard requirement for my particular lot of record is 50 feet. However, in an effort to provide privacy on the property and for our children to have a yard to play in, we are requesting to build a proposed new garage on the southeast corner of the property with a 12-foot setback from the right-of-way. This would be a benefit to the new garage for functionality as it would mean easier access from the street as well as keeping the backyard more open for future children's swing set and creating more privacy. I'm requesting a variance permit for the location of the garage in the site plan 30 feet east of the 50-foot setback line. I believe the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered or suffer a substantial detriment if this variance is granted. This would not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services of any kind. We did purchase the property with the knowledge of the zoning restrictions and have adhered to them since moving into the neighborhood. I believe that this problem cannot be resolved by some manner other than the variance because of the shallowness of our backyard. Following the current setbacks from both streets puts the garage squarely behind our house or further west, taking up a lot of the backyard space. Also, putting the garage anywhere on the west side of our lot would not look aesthetically appealing. Current zoning effective for the lot district calls for a 50-foot setback, and as a result of this, shifting the garage on the site plan to it would require a variance on the east side of the garage to allow for a 12-foot setback instead of 50-foot setback line to again allow for privacy and easier access from the road. I've spoken to several adjacent neighbors, and they have all supported the building in this location on the property. Any other location on the property would require you to drive through the yard or put in a long driveway, which would give an unappealing look to the property and neighborhood and potentially reduce property value. What is perhaps most relevant here is what I would ask the board to consider is the fact that the side setback has no neighboring properties. With a woods line behind the building, this would create no undue burden on any neighboring residents. The proposed style and structure of the garage is in step with the existing neighborhood and will match our house in both color of its vinyl siding and the color of its shingles. The proposed project would be an improvement to the neighborhood and result in an overall increase in property value and tax base created by improvement. Thank you for your consideration.
So are the garage doors intended to face which road?
They will be the same as the house, so they will face,
Weathersfield?
well,
It's
yeah,
all
it's all
Weathersfield. It's
Weathersfield,
all
but
Weathersfield.
they'll be facing the front of the house. They'll all be facing the same way, what I'm trying to say.
And so you said you are intending to put in a driveway to the structure?
Not if I can put it all the way over, it'd just be like, 30 feet or whatever, I could just drive on the grass, but if it's 80 feet or whatever it is on the other side, that's quite a ways in the early spring and late months to put a car back there.
So you're planning on putting a car back there?
I have a classic car that I store in the wintertime.
And,
It's currently not at my house, it's at my grandfather's garage, but
and so you're just gonna drive it across the grass?
yeah, if it's right by the street.
Oh,
I can.
okay, you'll just go up the curb.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the adjacent property owners, no one's disputed this or no one has any problem.
I spoke to a gentleman and a lady that are right behind me, and the people that are adjacent to me. There's not anyone really across the street because it's Morley, so it's a backyard that butts up to it. I spoke to the other neighbor that's right next to me and another neighbor in the cul-de-sac. So I've spoken to 4 out of the 5.
And the reason I ask is sometimes we have letters of support that they would provide to us, or do you know if they're on the phone today to support you?
I didn't ask him about that.
Okay, that's all right, just curious.
The one gentleman is hard of hearing. His wife is a little better at communicating, so I guess I should have asked them. They're the ones that I was worried about the most because they're right behind me. I spoke to them on Sunday and it was thumbs up and everyone was okay, so.
And you realize this is a very substantial variance to push it that close to the road?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was speaking to Heather, yeah.
It's really not that close to the road. I mean, if you did any of you go over there and look at it?
I looked at it through the
Because
map.
did you, Blair? Maybe you could let me know if you agree or not, but I looked at the yard and I thought, there's nowhere else in this yard that I would even consider putting a building. And I don't think it's that close to the street. It's just my thought. I'm looking at it.
But
What'd
the
you
right
think?
of way in the easement, I think it was 42 feet from the road. I'm trying to remember.
What did you think, Blair?
I think the fact that, the houses are pretty well set back from the the road, the way the trees are situated on its property, it certainly doesn't seem to stick out like a sore thumb or be any kind of, I don't know.
Do you have a septic system over there?
No, it's sewer.
And all that vegetation is gonna stay on that back line.
Yeah.
I will say corner lots are difficult. We've dealt with other situations similar to this, perhaps not in the same scope. And I'm certainly not trying to say there's any precedent's been set, but there is a difficulty with corner lots and setback issues. You know, we see it repeatedly.
I would concur.
Skip, do you have any questions? Okay, you can be seated, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else here that's speaking for this appeal that would like to come up? Anyone speaking against this appeal that'd like to come up? All right, is there anybody on the phone that would like to speak for or against this appeal?
Mr. Chairman, if there is somebody on the phone that would like to,
Oh.
they're watching on YouTube.
Okay.
It might be a little bit delayed,
Okay,
maybe a little bit unusual. So, So I have Angie Battistone on the phone, and she is hard of hearing, and she's having trouble getting an interpreter. She can't use her relay service to speak through the WebEx. Now, she was chatting, indicated she does have an interpreter that can call in for her. In the alternative, she was going to ask me to read what she was going to type, so you want to hang on just 1 second if I give her
Yeah, why don't you just do that?
give her the
Just
code. It's not even-
Read what she puts.
Let me,
yeah, if she has a comment, if that's easier, she could just put the comment in the chat. How far off that back property line is that building gonna be?
That property, 15.
I'm sorry, 15?
15.
Yeah, 15.
Okay. She, 1 second. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to read, this is from Angela Battistone, and she lives at property directly behind Mr. Torre. Chat that. Let me just look at that.
Is that 9865, Heather?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking for her address, I'm sorry. The one right there. Correct. 9865 Weatherfield Drive, and she confirmed that she has been sworn in,
Okay.
okay? Okay, she says, my husband Ken and I are in favor of neighbor Jim and Stacy Torres' new garage.
Okay. Great.
Staff, if there's anything else.
Yeah, ask her if there's anything else.
She says, no, that's it, I'm good, thank you.
All right, thank you. So, with that being said, is there anyone else that's on the line potentially?
There's another call in, I don't know if they're for this case or the next one.
Okay, I'll just ask one more time. Is there anyone else on the line that would like to speak for or against this appeal? Okay, if there's no further questions, the public hearing for variance number 2020-69 is now closed to the public. Can I get a motion to approve the variance?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all right. Discussion for the board? Anyone have anything? Everyone is good to go? Okay. The questions for the approval of variance appeal number 2020-69. A yes vote approves it. A no vote denies the variance. Heather, please call the vote.
Ms. Carroll,
Yes.
Mr. Dines,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton,
Yes.
and Mr. Valente.
Yes. Your variance has been approved. Thank you. Next is variance number 2020-70. Chris Nagy is requesting a variance from section 15.04A 2D to allow for the construction of accessory building on the corner lot to be set 15 feet back from the right-of-way in lieu of the minimum 50 feet as required for the property located at 10575 Noble Hill Lane, current parcel number 08-A-030-H-00-045-0. Come on up and present your case.
My name is Chris Nagy. I'm at 10575 Nob Hill Lane. I affirm that I have been sworn in. Members of the Board of Zoning Appeals, we're requesting an area variance due to the limited available space in our backyard. Without the variance, the beneficial use of our backyard will be further reduced. We've been denied a zoning permit for an accessory building per section 15.04A2D. The proposed location does not meet the requirement for 50-foot front setback on a corner lot. As you can see from the survey documents provided, we are significantly encumbered by the detention basin that takes up half of our backyard. The proposed location allows for us to maintain a small section of backyard for our children to enjoy, will provide the additional benefit blocking the beams of headlights from flooding our master bedroom from vehicles traveling south on Summerhill. I'm a fireman, and the ability for me to get quality rest while at home is vital to be able to fulfill my oath of service safely. For these reasons, it is practically difficult to relocate the accessory building. Therefore, we are requesting a 35-foot variance from the frontage requirement. The essential character of the neighborhood will be maintained, and all adjoining neighbors have agreed they will not suffer a substantial detriment. The variance will not affect the delivery of government services, as has been confirmed from the Concord Township Services Department. The building will be located outside the utility easement. This request preserves the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution and subsequently provides us substantial justice. We appreciate your consideration. I think you have all the accompanying paperwork. The only thing that I didn't have to be able to provide 9 copies of was a rendition of the building that we will be putting up. I'll be happy to submit it to the board. Want to take a look at it?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So it will be similar in style, but not size. As you can see, that's listed as a 16 by 32. Just tell me.
And it'll match the house, right?
Yes, ma'am. My wife said it better not come with a motorcycle.
Yeah, I was gonna get to the same thing.
Okay. I don't have any questions for you. Does anyone else up here?
I don't have any.
I do not.
No. Okay. All right. You can be seated, sir.
You guys still need that, or?
Let me tell you. I'll just check to see if there's anybody on the phone that's here to speak for or against this appeal. Gonna type something in the message, the chat.
I'm sorry, there's one calling, but they don't have a chat.
Oh, okay. Okay. Give it a second. If there's no further questions, the public hearing for variance number 2020-70 is now closed to the public. Can I get a motion to approve the variance?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Any further discussion on the board?
I would just simply say this is, to me anyway, about as a no-brainer as they come. Remarkable lot, such that it presents a complete difficulty in all its respects. There's nobody speaking against it. I think the positioning of it doesn't really have many other options whatsoever. No sense to belabor it.
Okay. So the question is approval of variance number 2020-70. A yes vote approves it, a no vote denies it. Heather, please call the vote.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes?
Mr. Dines?
Yes.
Mr. Hamilton?
Yes.
Ms. Gerald?
Yes.
And Mr. Valenti?
Yes, your variance has been approved. Okay, now next on the agenda is approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from October 14th, 2020?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there any changes or deletions or revisions to the minutes?
Excellent, as usual.
Okay,
Just vote by abstention, Mr. Chairman, as not present at the meeting.
okay. Brendan will be abstaining. Can I, the question is approval of the minutes from October 14th, 2020. Yes vote again will approve the minutes and no vote denies it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And one abstention. The minutes have been approved. Our next meeting is December 9th. The Concord Township Board of Zoning Appeals meeting for November 10th, 2020 is now closed.